On October 17th, we started airing our series on Invisible Tears about Hurricane Helene and the personal impact it had on our team. We wanted to make sure and give even further updates as the situation in Western North Carolina changes almost daily. Throughout the past month, we cannot express how much the love, support, prayers, and well wishes have helped us get through this difficult time. Thank you for listening and for allowing us to share our story and the story of our neighbors. We are survivors, and with your help, we are staying Black Mountain strong.
Welcome back to Invisible Tears. I'm Jane, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Amanda and Drew. We've been on the conversations of the devastation down in North Carolina. They've been sharing their experiences. They've been very transparent. And I'm actually, again, I'm going to say I'm hearing a lot of this stuff, or 99% of this stuff, for the first time as they're talking about their experiences. So, hey, Drew. Hey, Amanda.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, so the way we left off our last conversation, right? That we gave as many updates as we could, with the timing that we had. So today we're recording as of Friday, October 25th. And there's definitely more updates even since then, right? I know that as we were talking, one of the biggest pieces was water and our water infrastructure. So I wanted to make sure and give people an update on that. So as of today, our water infrastructure has come back. However, we are still under a boil water notice, which means we do have, water running through our faucets and everything like that. They have told us that it is safe to do laundry and to shower in it. However, any piece of consumption is not okay for the water. It's going to take a while for them to keep on flushing the system, treating the system, and trying to ensure that the water is actually not contaminated. Again, a ton of factors with that, right? So if we were to consume the water at all, and I have to be honest with you, every person I've talked to will not consume the water.
I'd be terrified.
We will, even with the boil water. I understand that is the instruction, but the instruction is to boil the water for at least 1 minute vigorously, and then it would be safe to cook with and consume. But every person that I've talked to, we're just sticking to the bottled water for any piece of cooking or consumption. So that is a big piece.
Did they say about how long that would take?
For the no.
For the flushing of the system and all that?
Yeah.
No estimate?
No estimate that I know of right now. And I understand that there are some pieces of our water, specifically here in Black Mountain, that do actually come through the Asheville system. So I know that the process that has to occur and has to take place is that Asheville has to be completely done with their testing before we can start our testing over here.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
So they've found and fixed and they located and they fixed all the little leaks that they expected to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I believe that there are, I haven't heard about anything in the past day. I believe there are still other weaknesses and leaks that are actually being found now that the water is actually back up and there is pressure in the system, and they're continuing to fix that. And I want to just make sure and put that caveat out there too. Like we're specifically speaking to the Asheville and Black Mountain area. There are tons and tons of other areas that still do not have the running water the electricity, the cell phones actually back up and running and the communication.
Wow. And it's been 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's actually almost been a month.
Month.
Yep.
A month.
Yep.
Yeah.
This past Thursday marked a month. Is
Yes.
that
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they still don't have these
Yeah.
services.
Yeah.
Wow. That really shows you the amount of destruction.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm sure they're still working on this stuff
Hmm.
to try to help those people.
Yeah. Yep, there is. There's still a ton of help within the communities themselves. To many of the communities are actually just strictly rebuilding, rebuilding literally from ground up. So to try and to put into perspective the magnitude of this storm. So this storm hit Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, obviously North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia. Impacted all of those states. And in some cases, devastated some towns and cities within those states. Just within North Carolina alone, 25 counties were impacted. And so now I know that some of our listeners, probably if they're, local to like New England and things like that, that sounds like a ton of counties. So North Carolina actually has 100 counties, just to
Wow.
put that into perspective, right? And we're kind of organized in, we think about ourselves from within a county as well. A lot of our schools are organized like that, like within county. So the 25 North Carolina counties that were impacted by this, and now I literally took this off the disaster website, right? So it was accurate. Allegheny, these are the counties: Allegheny, Ashe, Avery, Buncombe County, which is where we are, which is where Asheville is too, Burke, Caldwell, Catawba, Clay, Cleveland, Gatson, Haywood, Henderson, Jackson, Lincoln, Macon, Madison, McDowell, Mitchell, Polk, Rutherford, Rutherford. I think that's Rutherfordton. Transylvania, Wada, Wadagua, Wada, Wada.
What a
I'm like, what a
what?
what? Watagua. Watagua is probably
Oh,
the way it's pronounced. Wilkes and Yancey, and part of the Cherokee Nation as well.
wow.
So yeah, so those are. I mean, obviously we can only speak to like our specific like location, really, in what we can actually see and what we can experience. But as we've been able to get a little bit more steady communication up and we're taking baby steps to get back to normalcy, I am seeing horrifying reports of literally towns not existing anymore and no one in
Yeah.
those towns existing anymore. Um, a lot of smaller places, there's a small place like Green Mountain. I don't,
Yeah.
you know, um, yeah. So I just wanted to outline that. It's not that we're trying to leave anything out. It's the
Mm.
trying to figure out the true magnitude and just making sure that everybody's aware like how massive this was.
That that whole that was massive.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was massive. I know Georgia was hit pretty hard.
Yep.
Um, they're still recovering, and they had some pretty massive damage down there too.
Hmm.
I They haven't really. I mean, they've talked about it, but they haven't really shown a whole lot of um, pictures or photos or video or anything like that down there.
Yeah.
Not um like there's massive TikToks on Black Mountain and Shenandoah, and um so there's been a lot of coverage on that.
Hmm.
Um but Georgia keeps saying don't forget about us
Yeah.
because we were hit pretty hard.
Hmm.
And I tried looking up some photos and seeing, what the destruction was down there. And I saw a few. And it was very similar to Black Mountain and Shenandoah.
Yeah.
So they are struggling down there too.
Hmm.
They had quite a bit of damage,
Yeah.
destruction.
Hmm.
Chimney Rock's mayor was on today on the news, and he was saying that people are still struggling there. Obviously, that little small community has been devastated and practically destroyed. But he said that they, the many people that he has talked to, they're rebuilding.
Hmm.
He's looking forward to rebuilding. And he said that, we depended a lot on tourism.
Hmm.
And he said that they're hoping that, once they rebuild, their tourism will come back
Yeah.
because their beautiful trails are still there, and their scenery and um, the beauty of that area. Um, some of it is still there, and they hope to be able to rebuild and capture,
Hmm.
uh, still capture that beauty in that area. So
Yep.
that was that was pretty it was pretty emotional listening to him, because he was talking a lot about, what the community will be doing fine for a little while, and then they've started rebuilding, but then they're like, it's almost like mentally they go back a step, because they're like, how can we still capture the memory of the how beautiful it was there?
Hmm.
And then the reality sets in, and they're like, well, no, we're not going to be able to do that. Um, but we're going to be able to rebuild to the best that they can.
Hmm.
But to rebuild back the way they were, I guess the community struggles with that they won't be able to do that.
Yep.
So it's a lot of um, mental,
Hmm.
um, a lot of uh, people just struggling with the realization that it's not going to be what it was.
Hmm.
But and where do we go from here? How do we move forward? And you guys can talk more on that than I can. I can't even. I mean, I'm throwing out things that I've heard from like the mayor of Chimney Rock and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, you guys are living it, and I still can't even imagine. Can't imagine.
Yeah.
It's mind boggling, the destruction down there.
Hmm.
I mean, you posted, Amanda, a wonderful um, video, actually, like really capturing the devastation down there, and it's just
Yeah.
unimaginable.
Yeah. And so, for reference, for anybody that saw that video, so that's out on our social medias under Invisible Tears. That was literally a clip of about a minute and 20 seconds. I probably took about 8 minutes of total video, so I can make more. That is just the main Route 70 in Swananoa. And the video literally starts 5 miles from our house and about a mile from my daughter's high school. Um, that those pieces that you guys will see on the video, while I know it's completely shocking, I can't try and express in words the feeling that you get seeing it. In person, you can feel all of the sadness, you can feel all of the destruction, you can feel the death. um and actually, Drew and myself, we were trying to get to a location. This was just probably, I don't
last
know,
week.
last week sometime. We were trying to get to a location in Swananoa, so the road that actually goes parallel to that road that I took the footage on it, and it was just a little bit more internal. um, we were driving on that road, and again, trying to get to a location, but also trying to be mindful. And we didn't realize how much of a construction zone we were going to sort of go into. The wall that hit us when we were on that road, I wanted to take footage, but I couldn't. I couldn't take footage of the destruction and what was occurring because it was like this wall just hit, and I haven't cried in a really long time because of the different stuff that I've seen. But I started getting very teary eyed, and I was like, "You feel that?" And he felt it too. It was like that sinking feeling of seeing all the destruction around you when you're driving, but also realizing how tall that wall of water was because you can see it because it took out everything, including homes in that path. And yeah, uh, it's it's and it's going to take a while for all that to be cleaned up and be restored in any sort of way that looks normal.
That's the thing that when I was watching your video, I was like, how do they possibly clean all that stuff up
Mm-hmm.
to even start to rebuild?
Yeah.
It's going to be such a massive undertaking. I just can't even, I can't even imagine how the equipment that's going to have to come in and the manpower and the time and everything. Just, I can't wrap my head around just the cleanup. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know the destruction is absolutely horrifying, but then you think about moving forward, the cleanup.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah. Such a logistical
where do you
nightmare.
even start?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you even start? Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. I know that I mean, honestly, besides civilians and grassroots and the smaller companies actually coming out and doing it too, I do know that I did hear that agreements were made, right, with was it with our reserves, Drew, that we heard
The
about the debris cleanup or
Army Corps of Engineers will be
Army Corps of
handling
Engineers?
the
Yep.
removal of all the debris
Hmm.
and any of the like
Oh,
construction
really?
material. Yep.
Hmm. Yep. So that with that being said too, with like our regular trash removal has tried to go back to normal on passable roads. Um, with that being said, they're making very, very distinct. Like if you have anything, if you have any sort of debris, just sort of like putting it towards the edge of the road um, for when those pickups start occurring too.
Is National Guard still there?
Yes. Yep. I've seen the National Guard. I don't think that I've seen them recently in Black Mountain, but I know that they're still in Swannanoa. Yep. Um, and so Buncombe County schools went back to school today.
Ah,
Yeah. They went back to school today um, with a 2 hour delay. Um, and the purpose of that 2 hour delay was to make sure that because the bus routes had to be so altered because of what is passable and what isn't, um, they did the 2 hour delay to allow bus drivers to safely still be able to stop at all of these stops and pick up the kids and get used to the new routes because so much of the outer roads and the outer landscape looks so different.
oh.
Yeah.
How did Adriana feel about that?
Mm.
Going back to school.
No, she wasn't having
Meh.
it. She wasn't having it. Well, I think there was a couple of pieces too with that. I don't think any of the kids actually understood why it would occur on a Friday. It kind of seems weird to me too. I understand that they wanted to get them back as soon as possible to try and
Yeah.
actually get them back at school. And she did hear the feedback too that it was probably going to just be a sort of like mental health day. Um, so
Mhm.
I'm hoping that it was just a sort of try and get them back into a little bit more of a routine, let them see a little bit of normalcy within like, their teachers and friends, get back to activities. and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I hope that they I'm sure that there's a lot of students that really haven't fully comprehended the impact that this storm had and what it's done and maybe you know in, if they don't talk to their parents or their family, they'll be more uh, open to talk to somebody at the school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna hope that they're gonna have plenty of counselors, school counselors, and some mental health there
Mm-hmm.
for these students because they're gonna need it.
Yeah, the all the communications have made sure to assure us as parents that there's more than a full staff of mental health professionals available. That are
Good,
going to be helping to support um, the everyone as they come back.
good.
So
Yeah, this will definitely give them a little bit of normalcy that they haven't seen in a month.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
And be around their friends and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she actually made the comment today that she almost feels like um, she hasn't had really any sort of sense of normalcy in her education since fourth grade. And
Oh,
when she made that comment, she's in ninth/10th now. She's sort of a hybrid, but they I understood what she was saying, but I personally didn't realize that. I'm not her. So
yeah.
she's like, she's like my fifth grade it was COVID, and then everything. Like her fifth grade graduation was like a
Yeah.
drive-through graduation, and then COVID ran over into hybrid and hybrid learning and stuff like that. So it was like fifth, sixth, and even seventh was really impacted, especially with all the mask stuff and all the other rules and stuff like that. And then she went homeschooled, and so now she's back into like a traditional school, and
Yeah.
she was like, I had that for you know I had that
two
for a
weeks.
month.
Not
Yeah.
even.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Yeah, I forgot about COVID. Yeah, that
mm-hmm,
was remote learning for almost 2 years.
mm-hmm,
And then she went to homeschooling. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. So
Yeah. Boy, she's got a point there. I didn't
yep.
even think about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah. So oh, another update too. Almost every single small business in downtown Black Mountain is open now.
Wow.
I also wanted to make sure and get that communication out there too. Um, yeah, downtown is really trying to open. I know that there's a lot of initiatives about people trying to build lists of small businesses, especially if they have a website, so others can support, shopping
Mm.
these places to just try and help them a little bit, especially coming up through like the holiday season. Holiday season for a lot of small businesses is big. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, almost every single place in Black Mountain is actually back to open, or at least the small businesses. So,
I'll have to watch the web page, and as soon as they put that list up, we'll
mm-hmm.
post it on Invisible Tears and start sharing it. Because
Yep,
you never know. I don't know
sure,
who's
sure,
watching and who's
that's true.
listening, and that's
Yep,
really good info. That's awesome. That is
yep,
like really good.
mm-hmm.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, yeah,
There's some more little bits of normalcy
mm-hmm.
to happen around there.
Yeah. I know people want to know a little bit more of the specifics of like the actual like call outs of the places that we're actually helping to. So I know we had already gone over like the Cajun Navy, 2016 Samaritan's Purse, and we had talked about Sun Coast Resources, that emergency gas place, a couple other places too. That I wanted to make sure and talk about a little bit and call out was there's a place called TR Lee Oil and LP Gas. They partnered with the church that they were working with, and they were offering free propane refills for everybody in the area.
Wow.
There's also a program that sparked up that it's called Working Wheels. And one thing that people have, I mean, don't get me wrong, the loss of people, the loss of homes, but a ton of cars were lost. If you look at any
Oh
of
my
this
God,
footage,
yes.
cars were damaged. And so I actually just saw this pop up yesterday. It's being shared around our Asheville groups. So it's called Working Wheels, and it's basically initiatives to helping people get a car, get another car
Really?
for their loss of vehicles. Yep. Um, every single, it's hard to write down a lot of the rest of the places and resources too, because I have to be honest with you. If there is a church in a town down here, they are doing something. So every single church is doing something. Like even if they lost their building, they're still organized and doing something. So like the big ones for Black Mountain, the Presbyterian Church, they're still actually doing supplies. The First Baptist, they were there not just with the supplies, but with the medical. And I know that the Methodist Church too, I know that they did some stuff with supplies as well. So any church in any of these towns or communities has literally organized and done something. So
Wow.
yeah. And it's just like I said, hard to write down every single one because there's so many. And another huge place that has been huge since the beginning is Savage Freedom's relief ops. So some people, I guess they also call themselves, they're also known as the Redneck Air Force, which I think is actually funny to call
Oh,
themselves that. Um, but the leader of Savage Freedoms is actually Adam Smith. He's a former Green Beret. Um, and so he has actually organized this along with the military over at the big Harley Davidson shop over in Swannanoa. That's where like one of their base camps is. And when I say they're not just like supplies, they are literally going out. And early on, it's search and rescue. Now it's more search and recovery, but also like helping rebuild and stuff like that. There's like this huge operation that's over there. They've been huge. They have a lot of like
wow.
helicopter pilots. You know what I mean? Most all of them are, military or ex-military. So they've been bringing in cadaver dogs. So like they have this massive operation that's occurring over there, and they have been set up there since very much the beginning, a couple of days after. So that was another one of the organizations I wanted to make sure and actually call out.
I want to do a call out. Vermont State Police up here in
Yes.
Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
They just went down with some dogs,
Yeah.
cadaver dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like they just backed up and went.
Yeah.
Um, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That is, especially so trigger warning right here with this little bit of, with a little bit of comments that I'm going to make when we're talking about the cadaver dogs. Some things that are actually occurring with the cadaver dogs are, as they're going into work, they're so overwhelmed that they're actually not even able to make hits. So having a lot of cadaver dogs to actually come in and do search and recovery is a huge benefit to the community because I guess think about it as this, that a lot of the cadaver dogs are used to literally searching for like one or like two people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when recovery operations are occurring, most of the time it's groups of
All right.
people.
Well, you know what? I want to go to there. I want to go there
Okay.
because and I hate to talk about this, but I think it's really, really important to know. One of the news stations first reported 72 deaths in North Carolina.
Hmm.
Now they're retracting and saying They need to retract 30 of those deaths. So they're saying 42 deaths from this storm. So they posted that on Facebook, the story, how there, instead of 72 deaths, that there's actually 42. People, I'm assuming from the area, went on and commented on that article on Facebook, and they were outraged. They said that the number is in the thousands. They said, we're here, we know it, it's in the thousands. Why is there such a huge cover up? They don't understand it. And these news stations are actually covering it up, or they are going by what I don't even know what the heck they could be going by, because I thought about it and I was like, wow, Jesus, maybe the numbers were wrong. But then I started hearing and seeing people's comments, and they're like, no, no, it's in the thousands, and they're still recovering. And some people were even saying they're not recovering bodies, they're recovering body parts. And I just I don't know what to believe. But I think it's pretty important that they start getting their act together and start getting more accurate numbers and be real about this, because if it's in the thousands, I think people need to know this. I really do. Because that will really show the scope and the amount of destruction that this storm really had. Why try to minimize this storm? What is the purpose of that? I mean, that doesn't help you guys out with getting help and getting resources and getting help in there for, search and recovery. I mean, right. It doesn't help. If they're saying that low of number, then people are like, okay, why am I going all the way across the country to find one or two bodies? There's more than that.
Yeah.
According to what I've heard, there's still a lot of missing. A lot of missing.
Yes.
In the hundreds of missing.
Yep.
So I don't know. I don't understand. I'm kind of confused about all that. I don't know what you guys have heard.
I don't know. I don't quite know what the purpose of understating as well. I feel exactly the same as you, Jane. I don't know what sort of purpose or benefit that has with understating. I have heard the communication from people that were working directly with recovery. It was rescue, now it's recovery. The thousands number as well. Regardless of for whatever reason, the numbers that will be put out there, I know what I feel. And, take that for whatever value you may, whether you believe in, psychic mediums or not. I know it's in the thousands. I could feel it. And I don't think that there's really any sort of value to people within the rescue and recovery groups overstating, or there's no benefit or there's no reason for them to lie about what they're seeing. So yeah, I don't know why. I don't know if you have an opinion about that, Drew, but I don't know why the numbers would be stated as they are.
No, that's what we were talking about that the other day, just trying to wrap our heads around what's the end goal of either being underreported or overreported.
Right.
What does it matter at the end of the day? What is it going to mean going forward? Still trying to wrap our heads around what the hell's the point of over or understating. why is that big? Don't know why it's such a big deal at this point. It's not going to change anything, um, unless it's all to do with the aid,
Hmm.
with how much aid's supposed to be
Mhm.
down this way, how much isn't. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those where I'm like, you look at the destruction and you're thinking to yourself, there's no way that it's only 50 people. But then again, I was thinking about the other day, I go, when you look at the destruction, there should be no way that every single kid and teacher is accounted for in the school system. And
Hmm.
they are. So it's like, okay, I didn't think there was any way possible that there was not going to be funerals for the school children, for Aubriana's
Right.
classmates. Like
Hmm.
the fact that she came out and it's like, nope, they're all accounted for.
Mm.
Like, okay, I don't know how the hell that happened, but
Yep.
awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, even us on the ground, we don't really know. We're
Hmm.
still trying to make heads or tails of everything. So,
Yeah.
and then I do know like there is some like other weird stuff like there's mining going on in Black Mountain and
Yeah.
for lithium and everything. And it's like, no, you're seeing a shit ton of dump trucks carrying out debris, rocks and dirt and stuff. And it's because it has to you have to rebuild every single road. So every single road has to have new foundation laid for them to be able to put pavement on. So that's why a lot of people you're seeing just dump truck after dump truck. It's they have to lay the foundation.
Yeah.
So
They're
even
filling.
that, it's like there's no mining happening. That is not the first priority. Yes, you're seeing trucks coming out of the quarries, but it's because they're bringing rocks and dirt to
Hmm.
all these other areas that need it.
Yeah. To literally actually recreate those roads that are completely gone, right? Recreate those roads, those bridges, those, I mean, even the railroad has to be reinforced in
Oh,
some of the
yeah.
areas as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, because that railroad runs right down 70, doesn't
And
it?
there's a good chunk
Yep.
where all you see is the tracks. There's no earth
Nothing
underneath
underneath.
it. They're just
Oh,
hanging there. So
wow.
even that stuff, all the banks along the river that the roads are going along have to be restabilized. And how are you
Mm.
going to do that? You have to bring in
You have to fill.
material to do that. So,
Yep.
so that's another thing where you see, some of the
Yeah.
conspiracies saying, "Oh, they're digging lithium," and it's like, no, think of it
No.
logically. This is what they have to be
Hmm.
doing at this
Yeah.
moment. So,
Yep.
um, once again,
You guys have been seeing a lot of construction vehicles.
Tons,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
tons.
Really?
Yep. Yep.
Mm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you go out, you're gonna pass a half dozen dump trucks and all the other equipment associated with that.
Hmm.
Throughout your travels.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Well, that's good. That means a lot of people have come from other places to
Yeah.
come in to help. That's really good. That helps.
Yes.
That helps.
Yes, it does. I want to give everybody a little bit of an update, specifically, Drew started talking about aid too. So, especially because of our eh, opinions about, like FEMA and that sort of thing. We do have an update about FEMA. And the update actually goes as follows for us personally, for Drew and myself and, our daughter. Um, we were able to meet with someone in person. He was great. His name was Wolf,
Wolf,
right?
wolf.
Yeah, Wolf. Shout out to you. You're a cool dude. He was a cool, compassionate dude. We were able to meet with him because we were lucky enough to have communication, and we were lucky enough to know that they were actually set up behind a building in Black Mountain, and we knew where that was. So we went. We were able to go and wait in line and actually speak with somebody and just sort of explain our specific and personal situation. So we were able to put an application in um, by meeting with somebody in person. Um, so everybody that we've forward faced with, anybody that was in the field, us personally, they have been compassionate and they've been nice. Um, but as far as the process goes, those aren't the people that are in charge of the actual aid coming through. So we have the only communications that we've received back is that everything is still being reviewed and is pending. no sort of case manager or inspector or anything like that has gotten a hold of us. And I have gotten 2 emails referring me to the Small Business Association for a loan because we had business products that were affected through the flooding. So, but again, that's a loan. It's not assistance and it's not grants. So we've just sort of disregarded that. We're not going to get into anything like that with that. So
So
that's our personal
it's been
update
a
on that.
month. It's
Mhm.
been a month.
Yep.
Have you heard of anybody actually receiving a $750 check?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been 9 days since we did speak with that FEMA representative, and we have yet to hear anything back or
Mm-hmm.
any assistance. We're not expecting anything at this
No.
point. Um, Even with the stuff that was damaged, that we did receive confirmation that the items that were in our storage unit are considered essential items for living, so they should be covered.
Mm-hmm.
But then when
Oh.
we spoke with another representative who was actually doing some inspections here at my parents' house, she didn't seem so confident
Mm-hmm.
that they would be considered essential.
Mm-hmm.
So to be honest, we're not expecting
Now,
anything.
what about the storage place? Their insurance covering any of your stuff that
You
doesn't
have to,
happen, does it?
nope, you have to get insurance on the unit itself.
And the only way that the only way that they could tap into their insurance is if the storage units themselves like weren't there anymore.
Which
You know what I
one of
mean?
those, there's a storage unit less than a quarter of a mile down our house that every single unit was taking out completely. All the doors were blown out from the water. So that's one of those. If we were in that facility, we'd feel a little bit more confident that we'd be able to get some assistance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Mhm.
That was another thing I was going to ask is now the storage units, are they obviously some of the storage places have got to rebuild their storages?
Hmm.
Because I mean, in my mind, that's going to be a high demand. People are going to really want to get storages for donations that are coming in.
Hmm.
Um, I know there was somebody up here that wanted to donate a bunch of furniture to you guys, which was so sweet, so sweet. But it's like you have no place to put it.
You know,
There's
it's
no
like thank
storage
you.
units down there.
It's like thank you so much, but we don't have a place to put it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like so I imagine that would be something that they'd want to really start rebuilding pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So these people can get storage units to start putting stuff in, donations and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when they rebuild, because I'm sure there's quite a few, or I know there's quite a few that have to rebuild from the ground up, um, or renovate damage to their homes, that they're going to need, these donations, but have no place to put them.
Yep.
So I would imagine that the storage unit places would start building
Yep.
or
Trying to
rebuilding.
rebuild. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine too. I haven't personally firsthand seen any of them
No.
be able to yet. It's still debris cleanup,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So I agree with you. I think there's going to be a huge demand um, for it, and I hope they're able to rebuild. Um, but yeah, it's good to
Have you
hear.
heard of a lot of people wanting to relocate out of that area?
Hmm.
Personally, no, but you do hear the news reports and some postings online of people looking to get out of their leases, get out of their rental agreements, to move.
Yeah.
Some from news articles saying, they moved here to get away from extreme weathers and now they're reevaluating and need to look elsewhere. But
Yeah.
Mm.
as far as those that are close to us or around our neighborhood,
No.
No.
Yeah.
Because I've had quite a few people ask me, you know, are you guys considering to relocate, or how could people actually want to rebuild there, knowing the devastation that you guys are going through right now? And to me, I have to kind of remind people this was the thousand-year storm.
Mm-hmm.
What are the possibilities of the community rebuilding everything, and then this happening again? And I don't know you know that there's a big probability of that happening again. So
Mm-hmm.
I know there's like generations and generations and generations of families that have lived there, and I mean, to live there for 50, 60 years and just say, okay, I can't do this again and want to relocate. I don't know that I could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, because there's a lot of generations there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I sort of reiterate
Uh,
exactly what you two were saying too, right? There's a ton of community pride. There's a ton of generation after generation after generation that's within this community. And so if they can, for the most part, you know, anybody that we personally know or have personally come into contact with, they definitely want to stay and rebuild, and this hasn't deterred them. I'm a part of a ton of Facebook groups for the area, and I have seen a ton of posts. So these aren't people that I know, but I have seen a ton of posts about people saying, will somebody take over my lease, with, like people having to exit because either their job's gone,
mm-hmm.
and they can't afford to live here anymore, and they have to go somewhere else, or because their home is essentially they're like, home's gone, job's gone. I I can't survive here. I have to leave. I have seen some of those communications go out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people have asked me about that.
I just
I
don't
was
even
kind
know
of
where we would
curious.
go if we were to even
Yeah.
think of relocating. Like, this was our relocation.
Mm-hmm.
We got
Mm-hmm.
out of New Hampshire to get away from the winters. We hated the winters. So that's why we're down here. So then it's like, okay, if we don't choose here, where do we want to go? We don't want to go
Yeah.
back to some place that has brutal winters. Do you go out west and deal with earthquakes? Do you go to the Midwest and deal with tornadoes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just every area of the country has got weather. This just
Yeah.
happened to be a perfect storm, taking
Yeah.
the perfect route and just sitting. That's really what it is. So, are we going to expect to see something like this 2 years down the road? No. So, not really, not too worried about it, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
it's one of those, like, it's done. This is the maximum destruction that we are going to witness here.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, we just
Perfectly.
know a little bit more for next time when we do actually hear a hurricane
Mm-hmm.
making its way or a tropical
Yeah.
storm making its way this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfectly said. Yeah. A lot of people just were questioning that.
Yeah. And
And
it's a
I
great
didn't know
question.
the answer. I'm
Yeah.
not down there.
It's a great question.
I don't